The lights in Murphy's cantina were always dim. The old space station spun slowly in the dark between star systems. Here, beings from different worlds came to drink and forget their troubles. The air smelled of alien sweat and cheap alcohol. Sat alone at a corner table. His dark shell showed many battle scars. 2 of his 6 arms were missing, cut off clean at the joints. Acid burns covered the left side of his face. His compound eyes stared into his drink without really seeing it. His people were known across the galaxy as smart fighters. They planned everything. They never rushed into battle. They always won because they thought things through better than anyone else. But looked tired, more tired than someone should look after winning wars. 3 young soldiers walked into the cantina. Their green skin was bright and clean. Their uniforms were new. They laughed loudly and talked about the war they were going to fight. "Those humans don't know what's coming," said the tallest one. His name was, "Our weapons are so much better than theirs." "I heard they still use metal bullets," said another. "While we have plasma rifles, this will be easy." The third one pointed at, "Look, there's a real veteran over there. Let's ask him for some war stories." They walked over to his table. Their boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. "Excuse me, old-timer," said. "We're shipping out to fight the humans tomorrow. Got any good stories from your wars?" Didn't look up from his drink. "Go away, children." "Come on," said. "We want to hear about real battles, not the boring stuff they teach in school." "You wouldn't understand," said. His voice was quiet and rough. "Try us," said. "We're not stupid, we know about war." Finally looked up, his eyes were old and sad. "You know about war, which wars have you fought?" "Well, none yet," the third said. "But we've studied every battle in history, we know all the tactics." "Tactics?" repeated. He took a long drink. "Let me guess, you studied the wars, the vegan uprising, the Mantid campaigns." "Of course," said proudly. "And the recent victories, your people are amazing fighters." "Were," said. "We were amazing fighters." "What do you mean were?" asked. "Everyone knows the military is the best in the galaxy." Was quiet for a long time. Around them, other aliens talked and drank. Someone was playing sad music on a strange instrument. "Sit down," said finally, "but you won't like what I tell you." The 3 young soldiers sat down quickly. They leaned forward, excited to hear real war stories. "You're going to fight humans," said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," said. "Some of their colonies are in our space. Command says it will take a few weeks to clear them out." "A few weeks," repeated. He almost smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "How many humans live in those colonies?" "Maybe 1 million across all of them," said. "Why?" "And how many troops are you bringing?" 50,000, the third said. "The best troops in our fleet." Nodded slowly. "Good numbers should be easy, right? You have better weapons, better ships, better training." "Exactly," said. "So what's the problem?" "The problem," said, "is that you think you're fighting a normal war." "What do you mean normal?" asked. Finished his drink and set the glass down hard. "I've fought 17 different species across 4 galactic sectors. Vegan, Mantid, crystalline, plasma beings, energy wraiths, and 10 others whose names you can't even pronounce." He paused. The young soldiers waited. "Only one species gave me nightmares." "Let me guess," said. "Some giant war machines, beings made of pure energy, hive-mind insects." "Humans," said. The 3 looked at each other. Then they started laughing. "Humans," said. "Those little pink things, they don't even have natural weapons." "They're barely out of their stone age," added. "They only got to space a few hundred years ago." "They fight with metal sticks and chemical explosives," the third one said. Waited for them to stop laughing. "Are you done?" "Sorry," said, still smiling. "But humans, really, they're so primitive." "Primitive," said. "Yes, that's what we thought too." He held up his remaining 4 arms. "I lost these 2 fighting humans." The laughter stopped. This scar, pointed to his face, came from human acid weapons they made from cleaning supplies. But that's impossible, said. Our intelligence reports say humans have basic weapons. Your intelligence reports are wrong, said. Or maybe they're right, and that's what makes humans so dangerous. I don't understand, said. Looked around the cantina. Other veterans sat at other tables. Some were missing limbs. Others had strange scars. All of them looked tired. See that soldier over there, pointed. Lost his legs fighting crystalline warriors. Makes sense. Crystalline beings shoot energy beams that can cut through anything. He pointed to another table. That vegan captain lost her arm to mantid claws. Also makes sense. Mantids are born killers. So what's your point? The third asked. My point, said, is that I got these wounds fighting beings who make tools from rocks and still kill each other over pieces of dirt. The young soldiers were quiet now. You want to know why humans are dangerous? Asked. It's not their weapons, it's not their ships, it's not their technology. Then what is it? Asked quietly. Leaned forward. It's how they think. Every other species in the galaxy fights to win. Humans fight to make sure you can never threaten them again. He stood up slowly. But you don't believe me. You think I'm just a scared old soldier telling scary stories. We didn't say that, said. You didn't have to, replied. I can see it in your eyes. Same look I had before my first battle with humans. He started to walk away, then stopped. One more thing, he said without turning around. When you meet them in battle, remember this. You're not fighting for territory or resources or politics. To them, you're threatening their children. Good luck with that. 3 days later, the young soldiers found again. They looked different now, less sure of themselves. They sat down at his table without asking, looked at them with tired eyes. Changed your minds? He asked. Tell us, said quietly, tell us what happened to you. Was quiet for a long time, then he began to speak. It was 3 years ago, Hadron 7, a jungle moon in human space. He closed his eyes, remembering. Command gave us simple orders: clear out a human settlement, take prisoners if possible, secure the mining equipment. Opened his eyes. Simple mission. We had done it 100 times before with other species. How many humans were there? Asked. Maybe 3,000. Miners, families, some local security, nothing serious. And how many? 10,000 troops, air support, heavy weapons. We could have destroyed their entire settlement from orbit. Took a drink, but we needed the mining equipment intact, so we had to go down and clear them out the hard way. He paused, or what we thought was the hard way. What happened? The third asked. We landed at dawn, perfect timing. Our scanners showed most humans were still in their homes, easy targets. His voice got quieter. We advanced in standard formation, 3 columns, air cover overhead, just like the textbooks taught us. That sounds right, said. It was right, replied, for fighting normal enemies. He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars moved slowly as the station spun. The first strange thing was the silence, he said. No weapons fire, no screaming, no calls for help. Maybe they were still asleep, suggested. That's what we thought. We reached the outer buildings, still nothing, no movement, no signs of life. Turned back to them. My unit was ordered to check the main residential area, 20 buildings. Each one could hold 50 humans. But they were empty, guessed. No, said, they were full. The 3 soldiers looked confused. Full of traps, explained. Every door was rigged, every window, every piece of furniture, even the toilets. Toilets? The third asked. Humans had turned everything into weapons. Old washing machines packed with explosives. Children's toys that shot acid when touched. Family pictures that sprayed poison gas. Sat back down. We lost 40 soldiers in the first 10 minutes just from opening doors. But that's crazy, said. They destroyed their own homes. Yes, said. That was our first lesson about humans. They don't fight to keep things, they fight to hurt you. What did you do next? We pulled back and used scanners to find the explosives. Took us 6 hours to clear one building safely. Rubbed his face. While we were doing that, humans were shooting at us from places that shouldn't exist. What do you mean? Underground, in the sewers, inside the walls of buildings, up in trees, even inside garbage piles that had been there for months. But your scanners should have found them, said. Should have, agreed. But humans had learned to fool our scanners. They covered themselves in mud and animal waste. They held their breath for impossible amounts of time. They made their heat signatures look like rocks. He paused. One human hid inside a dead animal for 18 hours, just waiting for us to walk by. That's disgusting, said. It worked, replied. He killed 6 of my soldiers before we even knew he was there. The cantina was getting busy around them. More aliens came in for evening drinks, but the 3 only listened to. We spent 2 days clearing the settlement, he continued. Every step was dangerous. Humans had prepared for months, maybe years. But you won, right? The third asked. You cleared them out. Almost laughed. We thought we did. On day 3, we found the last group of humans, old ones and children hiding in a basement. Finally, said. They surrendered immediately, said. No fight at all, we thought it was over. He was quiet for a moment. That's when we learned about human planning. What do you mean? While we were busy for 3 days clearing traps and fighting shadows, the real human fighters had already left. Left, asked, left where? Through tunnels they had dug under the settlement, tunnels that connected to the forest. They had been gone since the first day. The 3 soldiers stared at him. But that means, started. It means we spent 3 days fighting an empty town, finished. The humans we were really looking for were already 20 kilometers away. What about the children and old ones? Asked. They stayed behind to make us think we were winning, to keep us busy while the fighters escaped. Drank again, but that wasn't the worst part. It gets worse, the third asked. Much worse. While we were clearing their settlement, the humans were hitting our supply lines. They knew exactly where our ships would land, where our supplies were stored, where our communication equipment was set up. How could they know that? Because they had been watching us since before we landed, learning our patterns, our procedures, our weaknesses. Touched his face. They hit our fuel depot with weapons made from fertilizer and household chemicals, destroyed 6 ships. Fertilizer? Asked. Humans can make bombs from anything. Food, soap, medicine, things that should help people live, they turn into things that kill. He stood up again, but the worst part was what they took. Our computer cores, battle plans, communication codes, maps of every position in the system. Looked at each of them. We came to capture a mining settlement. Instead, we gave humans everything they needed to attack us. But surely Command was angry, said. Command was confused, replied. This had never happened before. No species had ever used their own homes as bait. He walked back to the window. Every other enemy fights to protect their territory. Humans abandon their territory to steal ours. Did you go after them? Asked. Of course. We tracked them into the jungle, found their trail easily. Was quiet for a long time. That's where I learned that humans don't just set traps in their homes. The whole jungle was trapped, the third guessed. Worse, the humans had turned the jungle itself into a weapon. They knew which plants were poisonous, which animals were dangerous, which paths would collapse. He turned back to them. They led us through places where the trees ate metal, where the ground would swallow vehicles, where the air itself was toxic. But you have environment suits, said. Environment suits that humans had learned to break with tree sap and insect acid. Sat down heavily. We followed them for a week, lost 200 soldiers to the jungle. When we finally caught up to them, we found another empty camp. They had moved again. They had never stopped moving. While we were stumbling through their traps, they were already at our main base. What? The humans had circled around us, used our own pursuit against us. While our army was lost in the jungle, 20 human fighters attacked our command post. Finished his drink. 20 humans against 500 guards. Guess who won? The 3 soldiers sat in shocked silence. That was my first battle with humans, said quietly. We came with superior numbers, better weapons, and perfect tactics. And we learned that humans don't care about any of that. They care about making you afraid to fight them again. He looked at each of them. Are you still excited about your war? None of them answered. The next day found the 3 soldiers waiting at his table. They looked like they hadn't slept. We've been thinking about what you told us, said. And asked. We don't understand something, said. If humans are so good at escaping, how did you ever catch any? Sat down slowly. That's a good question. The answer is that humans let us catch them. What do you mean? Sometimes humans would surrender, walk right up to our troops with their hands up, no fight at all. That doesn't sound so scary, the third said. It was the most scary thing of all, replied, because we never understood why they did it. He ordered a drink. At first, we thought they were cowards. Some humans just couldn't take the pressure of war. Makes sense, said. But then we tried to question them. That's when we learned that capturing humans was worse than fighting them. Took a long drink. They sent me to 9 for interrogation duty. It's an asteroid prison, very secure, perfect place to get information from prisoners. Interrogation is easy, said. Every species has pressure points, pain tolerance limits, fear responses. Every species except humans, said. He looked out the window. I had questioned hundreds of prisoners from dozens of species. Break when you threaten their honor. Vegas break when you threaten their family. Mantids break when you isolate them from the hive. So what breaks humans? Asked. Nothing, said. Nothing we could find anyway. The 3 soldiers looked confused. Let me tell you about Commander Sarah, said. Human female, mid-30s, military engineer. We captured her after she blew up one of our supply convoys. Just one human destroyed a convoy, the third asked. Convoy, the road, 2 bridges, and a communications tower, all with materials she found in an abandoned farm. Rubbed his face. We thought she must know about other human positions, secret bases, hidden weapons. So you questioned her. For 6 weeks, every day, using every technique we knew. And she told us nothing, not even her name at first. Ordered another drink. The strange thing was how she acted. Most prisoners are angry or scared or sad, just watched us, like she was studying us. Studying you? Asked. Learning our procedures, our questions, our techniques, like she was the one running the interrogation. But surely she had limits, said. Everyone breaks eventually. That's what we thought, so we tried physical pressure. Humans feel pain just like other species. Paused, would scream when we hurt her, but she never gave up information, even when we thought she might die from the pain. Maybe she didn't know anything important, the third suggested. We knew she did. Our intelligence said she was part of the human command structure. She had to know about their bases. Drink arrived, so we tried mental pressure, isolation, loud sounds, no sleep, bright lights, chemicals that cause fear. That works on most species, said. It worked on 2. She became afraid, confused, desperate. So she talked. She talked, said, but she told us lies. How do you know they were lies? Because we tried to verify them. Every location she gave us was empty. Every name was false. Every piece of information led nowhere. Took a drink. But here's the strange part. She wasn't just making up random lies. The lies were perfect. They sounded completely true. I don't understand, said. Described human bases that didn't exist, but her descriptions were so detailed that our scouts spent weeks looking for them. She gave us names of human commanders who weren't real, but the names sounded right. Even their fake backgrounds made sense. How could she do that? Asked. We didn't know, so we brought in our best interrogation specialist, a mind reader from the Psychic Collective. Mind readers can't be fooled, the third said. That's what we thought, agreed. The mind reader tried to scan thoughts. And found exactly what she had told us. False bases, false names, false information. The three soldiers stared at him. But that's impossible, said. You can't fool a mind reader. You can if you believe your own lies, said. Had somehow made herself believe the false information was real. But how? We never figured that out. The mind reader said's brain was like a computer. She could rewrite her own memories. Finished his drink quickly, so we tried the neural probe, our most advanced interrogation tool. That should work on anyone, said. It does work on anyone, replied, but it didn't work the way we expected. What happened? The probe connected to his mind perfectly. We could see her thoughts, her memories, everything looked normal. So you got the real information. We got information, locations of 3 major human bases, names of key commanders, details of human battle plans. Was quiet for a moment. Command was so excited. Finally, real intelligence from a human prisoner. That's good, right? The third asked. We sent strike teams to all 3 locations immediately. Our best troops, full assault force. And walked into the biggest trap in military history. The 3 soldiers leaned forward. The bases were real, continued, but they were ready for us. Every approach was mined. Every building was fortified. Humans were waiting with weapons we had never seen before. But how did they know you were coming? Because had fed us false information while under the neural probe. She had created fake memories in real time. While the probe was reading her mind, she was writing new thoughts. Shook his head. That's not possible. That's what we said, until we lost 8,000 soldiers in one day. Stood up. The worst part was what we found afterward. What? Escaped the same day we attacked the bases. Security cameras showed her walking out of her cell like the locks weren't even there. She picked the locks, asked. No, she knew the guard codes, codes that changed every day, codes she couldn't possibly know. Then how? She had been watching the guards for 6 weeks, learning their patterns, memorizing their hand movements when they entered codes. Looked at each of them. While we thought we were breaking her mind, she was studying us, learning everything about our security. That's impossible for a normal person, the third said. Humans aren't normal, replied. That's what makes them dangerous. He sat back down. After escaped, command ordered all human prisoners to be isolated completely. No guards, no contact, just machines to feed them. Did that work? For a while, until humans started talking to the machines. Machines don't talk back, said. They do if you know how to make them. 3 human prisoners figured out how to reprogram their feeding robots, turned them into communication devices. To talk to each other. To talk to human forces outside the prison. They were sending intelligence reports through the robots. Ordered another drink. We found out when a rescue team attacked the prison. They knew exactly where every prisoner was, which guards were on duty, where all the weapons were stored. The humans rescued their prisoners. All of them in one night, without losing a single human. He looked at them. That's when command decided to stop taking human prisoners. What do you mean? Asked. Exactly what it sounds like. Orders were to kill all humans rather than capture them. That seems extreme, said quietly. Was it? Asked. Every human prisoner had caused more damage than 100 human soldiers. They were weapons that kept working even after we captured them. He finished his new drink. Besides, humans preferred death anyway. What do you mean? When humans realized we weren't taking prisoners anymore, they didn't surrender. They fought until they died, every single one. That's fanatical, the third said. Or practical, replied. Dead humans couldn't be tortured for information, couldn't be used as hostages, couldn't escape and cause more problems. He stood up again. That was my second lesson about humans. They're more dangerous as prisoners than as enemies. By the fourth day, word had spread through the cantina about stories. Other aliens stopped to listen when he spoke, but the 3 soldiers still came back to hear more. Tell us about your last battle, said. The one where you got those scars. Touched his face. You sure you want to know? Yes, all 3 said together. Very well, but this story is different. This is when I learned that humans don't just fight for territory or resources. He sat down heavily. We had been fighting on Hadron 7 for 3 months, back and forth across the jungle. Neither side could win. What changed? Asked. We captured a human research station. Small place, maybe 50 humans working there. That doesn't sound important, the third said. It wasn't supposed to be, just scientists and technicians. We thought they were studying the local plants. Ordered his usual drink, but when we searched the station, we found something else. What? Weapons research, new types of explosives, chemical compounds we had never seen. So it was a military target, said. Yes, and we had 30 human prisoners with valuable information. Took a drink. Command was pleased. Finally, we had something worth keeping. So you interrogated them. We tried, but these weren't soldiers-like. They were civilians, scientists. They broke quickly under pressure. That's good, right? We thought so. They told us about other research stations, hidden laboratories, weapon storage sites. Paused, but while we were questioning them, something went wrong. What do you mean? Some of the prisoners tried to escape. My guards used necessary force to stop them. The 3 looked uncomfortable. They knew what necessary force meant. How many died? Asked quietly. 12, including some of the scientists we needed for information. That's unfortunate, said. It was worse than unfortunate, replied, because the humans found out. Found out how? One prisoner had a hidden communication device. Before he died, he sent a message. His voice got quieter. The message was simple, just coordinates and the words "help us." Did human forces respond? Not at first. We intercepted follow-up communications. The nearest human military base was 6 days away, too far to help. So the prisoners were on their own. That's what we thought. Command decided to finish questioning the survivors and then move to a new position. Finished his drink quickly. 3 days later, our scanners picked up ships approaching. Human reinforcements. 1 ship, small transport, maybe 20 soldiers aboard. 20 soldiers against your entire force, the third asked. We had 800 troops at the research station, plus air support, plus orbital weapons. So you weren't worried? We should have been, said, because we made the same mistake we always made with humans. What mistake? We thought they were coming to win. A group of other aliens had gathered around their table, veterans from different wars. They listened quietly. The human ship didn't try to hide, continued. It flew straight toward us, no tricks, no clever tactics. That sounds like suicide, said. It was suicide, but humans didn't seem to care. What happened when they arrived? They sent us a message, very simple. Release our people and withdraw, you have 1 hour. Some of the listening aliens laughed. One human ship against an army. What did your commander do? Asked. Laughed, then sent the humans a reply. Surrender or be destroyed. Reasonable response, the third said. The humans answered immediately. Understand, no surrender. Looked around at the other veterans. That should have been our first warning. Humans always surrender when they're outnumbered. It's basic tactics. But not this time. This time was different, because the humans weren't fighting for territory or strategy. What were they fighting for? Their people, the prisoners we held. That changes everything about how humans fight. Stood up and walked to the window. The human ship attacked exactly 1 hour later, 20 soldiers against 800. They must have had some secret weapon, said. They did, but not the kind you're thinking of. What do you mean? The humans fought like they were already dead, like they had nothing to lose. Turned back to them. Every other species becomes careful when outnumbered. Humans become reckless. Reckless how? Their first soldier to land took a plasma blast to the chest. Mortal wound. Should have fallen down and died. But he didn't. He ran toward our lines while his body was burning, threw grenades until his heart stopped, killed 6 of our troops before he hit the ground. The listening aliens were quiet now. Their second soldier lost both legs to a mine, couldn't walk, so she crawled through crossfire to plant explosives on our artillery. While wounded, while dying, she knew she was dying, but she kept fighting until the explosives went off. Sat back down. Every human who landed that day fought the same way, like pain didn't matter, like death didn't matter. That's not normal, said. Nothing about that battle was normal. Humans who should have retreated charged forward. Humans who should have surrendered kept shooting. Humans who should have died kept moving. But surely, your numbers gave you an advantage. Numbers meant nothing. When you shoot a human and he keeps fighting, what good are more soldiers? His voice got even quieter. I watched one human soldier take 17 hits and still keep fighting. He only stopped when his brain was destroyed. That's impossible, said. I saw it myself. Humans can force their bodies to work past normal limits, past logical limits. But you still won, right? The third asked. 800 against 20. We won the battle, said, but we lost something else. What? Our nerve, our confidence, our willingness to fight humans. He touched his face. This happened when a dying human soldier activated a beacon, called in an orbital strike on his own position. On his own position, asked. Both human and forces were in the blast zone. The human knew it would kill his own people too. That's insane, said. That's what I thought, until I realized what the human was really doing. What? Sending a message, showing us that humans would rather die than let us win. Was quiet for a long moment. The orbital strike killed the last 5 human soldiers, but it also killed 40 of mine. So you won with heavy losses, the third said. We won the battle, corrected, but we lost the war. I don't understand. After that day, my soldiers wouldn't fight humans the same way. They had seen what humans do when their people are threatened. They became afraid. They became smart. No one wanted to be the target of a human rescue mission. Looked at each of the young. When your enemy is willing to die to hurt you, normal tactics don't work. But humans can't all be like that, said. Can't they? Asked. Every human who came to rescue their people fought that way, every single one. Maybe those were special forces, elite soldiers. We checked the records afterward. They were mechanics, pilots, cooks, regular troops from a support base. The other aliens around the table nodded. Several had similar stories. That's when I learned the truth about humans, said. They don't fight for governments or causes or territory. What do they fight for? Each other. When you threaten one human, you threaten all humans. That seems like a weakness, said. Emotional thinking instead of logical thinking. Is it? Asked. When every human is willing to die for every other human, how do you win against them? He stood up. We rescued our own people if we could, but we planned around acceptable losses. Humans don't accept losses. Everyone accepts some losses in war, the third said. Not humans. Every human death makes the rest fight harder. Every human prisoner makes them more dangerous. Walked toward the exit. That's my third lesson about humans. They don't fight like individuals. They fight like one giant organism. Where are you going? Called. To pack, replied. This station is too close to human space for my comfort. But you're retired from the military, said. Doesn't matter, said. Humans have long memories and longer reach than you think. On the fifth day, was loading his belongings when the three soldiers found him. Wait, said, we still have questions. Looked at them. Your ship leaves tomorrow. Shouldn't you be preparing for war? That's what we want to talk about, said. Your stories don't make sense. Which part? All of it, the third said. If humans are so dangerous, why did they stop fighting them? Put down his bag. What do you mean? The war ended 3 years ago, said. History says the one. Humans agreed to peace terms. Is that what history says? Humans from disputed territory, paid compensation, agreed to limit their military expansion. Was quiet for a long moment, and you think that means we won? Well, yes. Sit down, said. Let me tell you what really happened. They sat at a table in the loading bay. Ships came and went around them. Travelers from dozens of worlds hurried past. The military won every major battle against humans, began. We had better technology, better tactics, better soldiers. So you did win, said. We won battles, but we were losing the war. I don't understand. Let me ask you something, said. What's the point of war? To defeat your enemy, answered. To take territory, the third added. To force the other side to accept your terms, said. All good answers, said, but they only work if your enemy thinks the same way. He looked around the busy loading bay. Every species we had fought before wanted the same things: territory, resources, power. When they lost enough battles, they gave up. That's logical, said. Yes, but humans aren't logical. The more battles they lost, the more dangerous they became. How is that possible? Because humans learn from defeat. Other species accept defeat. Stood up and walked to a viewing port. After 6 months of fighting, we held most of human territory. We had destroyed their fleets, captured their colonies. Sounds like victory, said. It should have been, but humans kept fighting anyway. With what? You said you destroyed their military. They built new military, from nothing, in hidden bases we couldn't find. Turned back to them. Worse, they started fighting differently. How differently? Before, humans fought to protect their territory. After we took their territory, they fought to hurt us. What's the difference? When you fight to protect something, you have rules. You avoid civilian targets. You try to minimize damage. You fight with honor. His voice got harder. When you fight to hurt someone, there are no rules. The three looked uncomfortable. Humans started attacking our supply lines, our communications, our civilian transport ships. But that's against the laws of war, said. Humans said we broke those laws first when we invaded their homes. Did you? Was quiet. We followed standard military doctrine, acceptable civilian casualties, necessary collateral damage. That's normal in war, the third said. To us, but not to humans. He sat back down. Every civilian ship that humans destroyed was replaced by 2 more, but every human civilian we killed made a dozen more humans join their military. That's not sustainable for them, said. It was, because humans don't separate civilian and military the way we do. What do you mean? Every human civilian was ready to become a soldier. Every human colony was ready to become a fortress. Every human ship was ready to become a weapon. Rubbed his face. We were fighting an entire species, not just their military. But you still had superior numbers, said. Superior technology. For a while, but humans learned fast. They captured our weapons and improved them. They studied our tactics and found counters. How long did this go on? 2 years. We kept winning battles and losing ground, kept destroying human forces and facing stronger human forces. Looked at each of them. That's when High Command made a decision. What decision? To end the war through negotiation. The 3 soldiers stared at him. But you were winning, said. Were we? Asked. Let me tell you what victory against humans really costs. He counted on his remaining fingers. First cost, psychological. Soldiers were developing what humans call trauma, nightmares, fear of combat, inability to function. That happens in every war, the third said. Not like this. We had soldiers who refused orders, others who hurt themselves to avoid deployment, some who just stopped talking. That's cowardice, said. Is it? When your enemy uses their own children as weapons, what does that do to a soldier's mind? The young were quiet. Second cost, resources. Fighting humans required constant replacement of equipment. They destroyed everything they couldn't take, poisoned everything they couldn't destroy. Every enemy does that, said. Not like humans. They made their own worlds uninhabitable rather than let us use them, turned their own cities into toxic waste zones. Stood up again. Third cost, reputation. Other species started to watch how we fought humans. So, they saw what total war looked like, what we were willing to do to win. What's wrong with showing strength? Nothing, if you're fighting normal enemies, but watching us fight humans made other species afraid of us. Fear brings respect, said. Does it? 3 different species canceled trade agreements with us. 2 others started building defensive fleets. 1 requested protection from the Galactic Council. Picked up his bag again. We were winning against humans and losing everything else. But surely High Command had a plan, the third said. High Command had many plans. The final plan was complete extermination. The loading bay seemed quieter suddenly. Extermination, asked. Kill every human, destroy every human world, make sure the species could never threaten anyone again. That's extreme, said. That's what it takes to beat humans. You can't defeat them, you can't negotiate with them, you can't frighten them, you can only exterminate them. So why didn't you? Was quiet for a long time, because we realized what that would make us. What do you mean? A species that commits genocide wins one war and loses its soul. He shouldered his bag. High Command decided that humans weren't worth becoming monsters. So you negotiated. We negotiated from a position of strength. We could have destroyed them. They knew it, we knew it, everyone knew it. Then why are you afraid of them? Asked. Because the humans you're about to fight have learned from our war. Started walking toward his ship. They know what happened to us, how we broke ourselves fighting them. So they know they don't have to win battles. They just have to make fighting them cost more than victory is worth. The 3 soldiers followed him. Wait, called, what should we do? Stopped at his ship's entrance. You want my advice? Yes. Don't fight humans. We have orders, the third said. Then follow your orders, but remember what I told you. Which part? All of it, but especially this. You're not fighting for territory or resources or politics. Looked at each of them one last time. Those human colonies you're attacking, they have families, children, people who just want to live in peace. So do most enemies, said. Most enemies fight to protect their way of life. Humans fight to protect their children's future. He stepped onto his ship. That's the difference between fighting soldiers and fighting parents. What difference does that make? Asked. Soldiers have rules, limits, things they won't do. The ship's engine started warming up, had to speak louder. Parents have no limits, no rules, no things they won't do. One more question called, how do we win? Paused in the doorway. You don't, you survive, and you learn to leave humans alone. The ship's door started to close. But we're stronger than the third shouted. That's what we thought too, his voice came from inside. Good luck with that. The ship sealed and pulled away from the station. The three soldiers watched it disappear among the stars. They stood there for a long time, not talking. Finally spoke, should we report this to command? Report what? Asked. Stories from a scared old soldier. Maybe he's right, the third said quietly. About what? About everything. They walked back toward their quarters in silence. Tomorrow they would ship out to fight humans. Tonight they would try not to think about what that really meant. Behind them, the cantina was full of aliens sharing stories of war, veterans from a dozen species. Most had fought humans at some point. None of them were eager to do it again. Outside the station, human space waited in the darkness, quiet, patient. Ready? Walked out of the cantina. The three young soldiers sat in silence, staring at their drinks.